Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am making gel press prints, making prints with my 3 favorite things to create texture in my gel press prints. And this is episode 4 of my May stamp set of the month series featuring the Concord and 9th stamp set, Painted Peonies. Concord and 9th is sponsoring this series this month and giving away a $25 shopping spree to their store. All you have to do to enter is leave a comment on this video and the other 3 episodes in this series. If you missed the first 3 episodes, they're linked for you below. So for today's video, we're starting out making those gel press prints. I love making my own backgrounds, and gel press prints are so much fun to make. So I thought I would pair them with this beautiful floral set. I just love the shabbiness of a gel press print with a floral stamp. So that's what we're doing today, and we're getting started with gel press prints right now. Here is my gel press. It is 8.5 by 11, the full size of a piece of cardstock. I love that. I'll also be using these heavy body matte finished acrylic paints, as well as this inexpensive cardstock I buy in a ream at Walmart. I'll be using this large 6-inch brayer because I have a large gel press, but you can also use a small one, especially if you have a smaller gel press. Now I am ripping out a page from this book. I like to pick up books that I feel okay about tearing the pages out at a thrift store so I can clean my brayer off on them. Now I'm using this cool pool paint. My paints hadn't been used in a while, and so they were a little bit clogged and harder to get out, and I got way too much of this yellow, so I brought in another gel press. I have 3. I have 4. One's smaller, but it's really nice to clean your brayer off on another gel press because then you can use that to pick up a print, but you can also clean it off on a book page like this and make a really cool print there too. You don't want to waste your paint. So I mixed my cool pool with some yellow, light yellow, and I am pressing into it my very first favorite thing to make texture on a gel press print, and that is bubble wrap. Something you don't have to buy. You can easily find it, especially nowadays where we're getting all of our things delivered to us. So here we are with that first print, and you can see the impression of the bubble wrap right into it. Now I don't have to clean this off. I like to just keep going because the more excess paint buildup that's going to affect my later prints, the better. I love that. So I'm adding this bright yellow and bright pink. I'm going to brayer those together and get a little bit of orange going on, and then I will clean this brayer off on another piece of book paper. Look how cool that is. And you can always build on those book pages with a stencil or something. My second thing to make prints with is like a produce bag, like things that potatoes come in or oranges come in. This makes very cool, subtle texture that goes with anything. So now I'm going to pick up that print, and you can see I'm just laying the paper on there, pressing it down, and then I'll peel that off, and the paint transfers to that cardstock and makes something super yummy. Now they might look crazy at first and you're not sure what to do with these. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you in the cards today. So stay tuned. I know this video is kind of long today, but it's so worth it. At least I think it is. I'm brayering on now some bubblegum paint and some sweet berry together, and I'll clean that off on just a regular piece of printer paper, and that's another good thing you can use for cleaning off your brayer and even saving those for prints. Now, this is the thing right here, burlap. It might be my most favorite thing to make a print from. So I'm just pressing that into the paper. I did pick up a little excess paint where I didn't want it. That's okay. I'm going to take the burlap and press into those open areas, and that is going to leave a little something behind. And with a piece of paper this big, you can cut this into 4 card fronts for A2 size cards, 3 card fronts for slimline cards. And so those areas are going to be covered up later with other things, and it's okay. It's okay if you have like an area you picked up paint and you didn't want to. Speaking of excess things, there's my excess yellow paint. I brayered on to my gel press that I'm using, and I'm just going to play and have fun. I'm pressing that bubble wrap into that paint, and then I'm the one that already had the paint on it that I was trying to pick up the paint from and move it to the other one. Anyways, I'm pressing the burlap into that. I'm going to let both of these dry. I'm going to let the paint dry on there on purpose. I'm going to do it on purpose. And then I'm going to show you some techniques to pick it up. So this is called let it ride, when you are letting that paint dry and going back and picking it up. So now I am putting on one of my favorite stencils, the Heart Wall stencil, and brayering on some acrylic paint. Now this is just white paint from the dollar store. I really love the white acrylic paint from Spellbinders, but I had used all mine up. So I'm using this and actually ended up working really good. My stencil did move around a little bit, but again, that's kind of the look of gel press prints, that kind of shabby look. Loving that gel press paper or Brayer cleanup paper. I'm going to do the same thing on this gel press where I press the burlap into it, putting on that white paint and brayering it on. So now the white paint is only going to be on there in a polka dot pattern, and it's re-moistening the paint that's under there that I let dry on purpose. So when I take that stencil off, first of all, I'm going to put it into a water bath that I brought into my stamp room, and I'm going to put this paper on here, this cardstock, and I'm going to let that dry for about 5 minutes. Now when I pull this off, remember I only put new paint on through the stencil, so it's only picking up the paint where the stencil was, and there's texture in it of bubble wrap and print remnants of prints past. I love it. So now we can pick up the rest of this paint by adding another layer of white paint, and then lay down a piece of cardstock, and again we have to let this dry and then come back in 5 minutes. So now let's check on that polka dot one, and here you can see it picked up all those polka dots where I put down the white paint, and there's texture of burlap in it. It's so awesome. So again, we can pick up the rest of this paint by putting down a thin layer of that white acrylic paint. You can do this with any color of paint. I do find that a heavy body paint works a little bit better. And notice there, I'm cleaning off my white paint onto that book page, and it's making it a little bit lighter. I was in love with that look. I'm going to use that, and I decided let's keep playing while I'm letting those dry. So I added some more of that cool pool, and then I'm going to press on that potato sack again, and then I will have a little bit of texture in that paint, and it's a light layer. So I'm going to pick it up with that book page that I had cleaned the white paint off on and add another layer. And I'm loving how this looks. It makes the words on there not as noticeable, especially when it's about something weird, which usually they are when you get a book to rip up at the thrift store. So now I'm putting down another stencil. I just wanted to show you that you can do just one color stenciling very easily and get a cool background by using your gel press, because a clean gel press is kind of sticky and it will just hold your stencil there for you. It's magical. So there you can see I removed the stencil, put it into the water bath, and now I can pick up this amazing stenciled print. It's going to be pretty much just the one color. But then when that dries, which by the way, you want to wear a shirt you don't care about when you're doing this, because paint, yeah. So I'm putting on a light layer of that blue paint, and now I'm going to put on this paper and let it ride. Just let it dry. Come back to it much later, just like these ones that I did with the white paint, with the hearts and the polka dots, and you can see it picks up all of that. Well, most of it, but that's okay. Isn't that cool? All right, so now let's check out the polka dots. Yeah, they're yummy. This one left a lot more paint behind. You could clean this off with some mild soap and water. You don't want to do anything abrasive or anything scrubby, just really mild, but cleaning them off does not matter. I will not be cleaning that off. I will leave it as is. I will get bits and pieces on my next print, and that will be okay. It will be perfect, actually. So here are all the prints that I made today, and I thought you would like to just look through all of them and see all the different things. Now, I know some of us like something really neat and tidy and plaid and perfect, but sometimes these shabby backgrounds make the most amazing cards. I know a lot of people use them for junk journals and I'm not really into those things, so I can't list off a bunch of other things, but I love making these backgrounds for my cards and using the burlap, the what's that called where you pop it? Bubble wrap, and the potato bags they're just so easy to find, and they make amazing texture. So there's all the prints that I made. I only played for a little while and I have a ton of prints. So you just got to make sure you have plenty of paper on hand and have fun. And when you get all that paint on you, you really feel like an artist. So here are the 3 backgrounds I picked. I cut them to slimline size, and I'll be using those in today's cards. So let's set that aside and jump into the stamping with the Painted Peonies stamp set. So one of the things I really wanted to do in this month's series was use just that small flower from this set on a card. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm using these ink pads here from Altenew. This is the Rose Petal collection. Their ink pads are sold in collections that come with 4 colors that go from light to dark and layer up really well together. However, the stamps that I'm using that layer up, the Painted Peonies, only have 3 layers. So I won't be using all 4 of the colors, but when you see them linked below, you'll see that they are in sets of 4. And I like to play with it. Like sometimes I'll use the lightest, the second to the darkest, and the darkest. I'll skip one of the colors, or you can do them in order. And on my orange flowers, you'll see how I play with the mixing and matching of those 3 colors. So here I'm just stamping it in the corner of a square piece of paper. That way I can rotate it, stamp it again. And when I do the layering, I only have to line up that layered stamp one time, turn it, stamp it again, and I actually ended up doing 8 flowers just like that. So we'll set those aside. Let's move on to the orange flowers, which is with the Warm and Cozy ink pad collection. Here I'm using not the lightest color, but the next one up to start with my most solid layer stamp. So this is the one you're going to want to do your lightest of your 3 colors with. But I also decided to do this with the lightest color. So I'm going to have a variation in my flowers. One will be a little darker, one will be a little lighter, and they can go on the same card. Then I stamped it on the other end, so I didn't have to move my stamp, just rotate it. And that way I can line up the layering pieces and stamp it 4 times. Because remember, I'm doing 2 darker and I'm doing 2 lighter. So here's the darker one with its second layer. And then I'll come in with my 3rd layer. And again, I don't have to line up that layering stamp every time because I'm using my MISTI to line up my flower as I go. It's super handy, and it makes easy work of stamping out lots of flowers, which, by the way, if you stamp out this flower, you're probably going to have the same problem as me, which is I want to stamp 100 of them. So there's the lighter flower, and now I just need to add centers to these, but I wanted to give you a close-up look because it lined up so good. I was like, look, I made this. I stamped this. I was very proud of it, and I knew you would totally get it. So now I'm stamping out those centers using some yellow inks from Altenew, and they turned out gorgeous. Look at these orange flowers. I really tried to show you different colors of flowers that I hadn't shown you in the previous videos. So now I'm using Red Sunset. This is a pink color that goes from pink to red, but it has a corally touch to it, a coral feel. So I'm layering these up, and you can see I'm doing the large and the small flower at once, and I did 2 panels of those. So again, I'm making 4 flowers, and I didn't have to move my positioning of my stamps around. And then I'm bringing in some brown ink for the centers of these. They really have that kind of cottage feel. I love how these ones turned out. It was a little surprise for me how the color looked on them, and I loved it. So now for the leaves, I put all 3 leaves down, stamping that with bamboo ink. I rotated the paper, stamped them again, and then I did 2 more panels for a total of 3 panels, and then I layered that up with moss ink. So you can see all my leaves there, and now it's time to die cut them all out. Luckily, there are dies for every single one of the flowers in this set. So there's all the die cut flowers next to the panel of gel press print that I'm going to put them on. So let's start with card number 1. I have this windy sky background stamp. It happened to be on my desk, and I thought I'm going to do some kissing. I'm going to ink up my flower with a lighter orange, ink up my background stamp with a darker orange, press them together and get some texture right on that flower. So I did a darker one, and then I'm going to do a lighter one, and look at the results on this one. Yeah. Pretty cool. So I'm going to save that for my card, and I'm going to add some splatter, of course. You know how much I love splatter, and I especially love it on gel press prints. So I added bubblegum and citrus cooler silks, they're called, to these backgrounds. If they're still available at Spellbinders, they will be linked for you below. I use these all of the time. So I thought, why not put a piece of burlap onto my burlap background? So I'm just cutting off a piece of this burlap ribbon and kind of distressing the edge a little bit. And then I realized that the edges of this ribbon have wire in them and it was kind of poking out. So I pulled that out. I thought it would make it a little bit easier to adhere this to my card without the wire in it. But I was really like, what am I going to use to stick this down? So I thought I would try my favorite Barely Art glue and see how that did for the task. So I put it on those edges that stick up higher than the rest, and then I put a heavy block on top and just let that set while I put foam squares on the back of all the things. And you can see here, I used one of my lighter peonies and one of my darker ones. They look so good together, and the pink background, loving it. I love these three colors together. Pink, yellow, and orange make me so happy. So I thought this would be the first card I would make today. So I'm adding in some leaves in and around these flowers. You can see I have all the leaves off to the side in a little dish so I can pull however many I want and make the assembly a little bit faster. I'm going to trim off everything that hangs off. I didn't trim off the burlap yet. I thought I was going to let it hang, but then I decided I'm going to trim it off. So you'll see that happen here in a minute. There's my flower with the kissing technique on it. And then I wanted some of my colored card base to show through. So I just ripped a little corner off of my background, and then I'm going to stamp that exposed cardstock with that windy sky background from Spellbinders, and then it'll peek through and kind of tie in with the look on that one flower. So there we have it, and now we can glue that down and it will peek right through. Kind of cool. So that is card number 1, but it was about this time that I thought I needed to add the center to this little flower. I just took some Copic markers in yellow and orange and dotted in the center. I like it filled in a little bit. I had extra flowers that I had stamped and die cut, so I added a large lighter flower and that smaller kissed flower to the inside for some added interest on the inside. Next, I'm going to trim off the sides, and I found a piece of tape stuck to my stamped image from die cutting, still there. And that side felt too long, and this side was just too much. I only wanted one of the sides to hang off. So I trimmed off the side on the fold of the card and then roughed up the other side a little bit, but left it a little shorter than I originally had it. You can see there I also stamped Just For You from another Concord and 9th stamp set. Next, I have this panel that's the book page, and it has the potato bag print on it. I trimmed this down so it would fit on my slimline card with a little border of that cardstock showing around it. On each of my cards, I wanted colored cardstock background, and I wanted it to show, so I'm not covering it all the way up. All my card bases are 8.5 by 7, scored at 3.5. And there I am adding on all of those smaller flowers, kind of cascading down the card, and the green and the teal and the purple. Oh, it looks so good together. So I'll add in those greenery pieces, and I will do the centers of these. I have a little something special for that, but they are just pretty, just cascading down there. I think this is the most elegant of the 3 cards, and you can see how well that kind of shabby background of a gel press looks with florals. Somehow it just works. I really love it. I would love to know what you think. Do you love it too? Let me know in the comments below. So there's my last little bit of greenery. I am going to trim those off, all that hangs off the side, and then that will give it a more clean look. I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments from this set, Hello Friend, in some dark gray ink. This is the pure graphite ink from Altenew, and I'm going to stamp that a few times because I'm stamping over a background. Now I'm taking a pencil that's never been used and inking up the eraser with my Versamark ink, and then I'm going to stamp that, so to speak, in the center of each of my flowers. And then I have some pan pastels here in pewter. It has a metallic shine to it, and it will stick to the Versamark. So I'm going to fill in the centers of my flower this way on this card. And I think the little bit of shine was perfect. I love it. When you tilt it in the light, you can really see the metallic shine of it all. Now I have some silver gems with adhesive backs on them, and they were not as like see-through as other gems. They were more solid, and I felt like it just really went with the look of this card. So I just added them in and around, and this is the gem game I always play where you chase them around and they disappear and you're frustrated. Yeah, I play that every single time I use them. I have a little excess strip here from cutting down my panel that I added to the inside of the card to finish that up and just tie it in with the outside of the card. And now on to card number 3, the bubble wrap card. I'm splattering this with electric lime silk. It's very bright when it first comes out, but it dries back much lighter and has a shimmery shine left behind. Next, I'm going to take all of the larger leaves and glue them down for a background. You know, since it didn't work out in the last episode for me to glue down or stamp down the largest leaf, I thought I'm going to make it work this time, and I think I did. But as always, I need your input and your thoughts. Does it work with the leafy background this time? All right, so I'll trim off the excess, and then it's time to adhere the gorgeous flowers. I'm popping them up with some foam squares and just creating a scene. It almost looks like they're growing on a bush in this scene, and it's going to cover up a lot of that background, but still the yumminess of the bubble wrap will show through in places and add such fun interest to this card. You can see there I have 2 other smaller flowers that use the darker 3 colors of the same ink pad family, so to speak, the red sunset group. And I like the contrast of doing that with the lighter flower and the darker flower, but they all coordinate together because they're using very similar inks. Well, some of the same inks, but just some lighter, some darker. So there you have it. Next, I'm going to stamp for you. This card was my favorite, and then this happened. I inked it up with the moss ink and didn't know that my ink pad touched the lid of my MISTI, and it transferred onto my flower. That's a moment of silence for my sad heart. Yeah. Okay, moving on, letting it go, leaving it because that's how life is, full of little imperfections. Now for this panel, I trimmed down the sides, so I just have a little bit of that electric lime cardstock showing through on the right and the left, but not the top and the bottom. I love that look. So next I'm adding some leftover greenery pieces to the inside of my card, and out of like 36 some odd leaves and flowers that I stamped and die cut, I had 1 left over. Next, I'm adding some gems here. I happen to have the gems out and another of my little tidy trays that I like to have. I have in my window, which is right in front of where I'm stamping, I have little trays that I put my things in, and I had some gems sitting there. They were green. They matched perfect. And there was orange in there too. So I brought them out and put them on card number 1 because I felt like if the other 2 cards had gems, the first card would be jealous, and I couldn't have that. So it needed gems too. And there are the 3 cards using all the gel press prints. If you're still here, you're my friend. This was the long video. Thank you for sticking around. I had so much fun with these flowers this month, and make sure you leave a comment below because there is a $25 shopping spree to give away and it might as well go to you. So leave a comment on this video and the other 3 in the series. They're linked for you below in case you hadn't seen them yet. And I will announce the winner on the 31st on my community page here on my YouTube channel. If you go right to my channel, there's a little tab that says community. Click on that. I post things, and I will also let the winner know by replying to one of your comments on my video. So I'll be in touch and we'll be giving away some shopping money. Thank you so much for watching and happy stamping. Bye.